You awaken in the gentle hush of a Martian morning. The world outside your window is painted in shades of rust and rose. The sky a muted canvas, not quite blue, not quite gray. The sun, so familiar on Earth, is now a distant ember, rising slowly. Over the horizon, its light filtered through a thin veil of atmosphere. Here, on this quiet world, dawn arrives not with a blaze, but with a whisper. You sit for a moment, letting your eyes adjust to the soft, unfamiliar glow. The air is still, the silence deep, broken only by the faint hum of life support systems. You are far from home, yet the rhythm of morning is the same, a gentle invitation to begin again. The red dust outside glimmers gold in the new light, each grain catching the sun's rays like a memory of warmth on Earth. The sunrise is a promise. Light will return, and with it, life will stir. Here, the promise is more fragile, more precious. The sun is smaller, its warmth weaker, its journey across the sky slower and more uncertain. Yet even in this alien dawn, you feel the ancient pull of light, the quiet hope that life can find a way. You remember how, on Earth, the first green things reached for the sun. Tiny, delicate, they unfurled their leaves and drank in the light, weaving air and water into food, into energy, into the very fabric of life. This miracle photosynthesis has shaped every forest, every field, every breath you have ever taken. It is the silent engine of the living world. But here, on Mars, the rules are different. The air is thin, the soil dry, the sun a pale ghost of its former self. Can the miracle of photosynthesis survive in such a place? Can green life take root in red dust and turn sunlight into food beneath a sky so far from blue? You step outside, your boots pressing softly into the powdery soil. The landscape stretches before you, endless and empty, a sea of ochre and crimson. The wind is gentle, carrying the faint scent of iron and stone. You close your eyes and imagine a garden here, a patch of green, a breath of earth, a promise of home. The first light of Mars is different, but it is still light. It still carries energy, still holds the possibility of life. You think of the seeds you have brought with you, tiny capsules of hope, each one waiting for the right moment to awaken. You think of the work ahead, the careful tending, the patient waiting, the quiet faith that something will grow. As the sun climbs higher, its rays grow stronger, casting long shadows across the land. You watch as the colors shift, the reds deepening, the golds brightening, the world slowly coming alive. In this moment, you feel both small and infinite, a single thread in the vast tapestry of the universe. You remember that photosynthesis is not just a process, but a story of light and life, of struggle and survival, of hope in the face of uncertainty. It is the story of every leaf, every blade of grass, every breath you take. And now, it is your story too. You walk slowly, letting your thoughts drift like dust on the wind. You wonder what it will take to coax life from this barren soil, to teach green things to thrive beneath a foreign sun. You wonder if the plants will recognize this light, if they will reach for it as they do on Earth, or if they will falter, lost in the unfamiliar glow. You think of the first explorers, the dreamers and scientists who imagined gardens on Mars. You think of their hopes and fears, their careful calculations, their quiet determination. You are part of that lineage now, carrying their dreams forward, step by careful step. The sun is higher now, its light growing sharper, more insistent. You feel its warmth on your face, faint but real, a reminder that even here, so far from home, the universe offers its gifts. You kneel and scoop up a handful of soil, letting it run through your fingers. It is dry, gritty, unfamiliar, but not without promise. You imagine roots pushing down, searching for water, for nutrients, for a place to belong. You imagine leaves unfurling, turning toward the light, weaving air and sunlight into food, into life. You imagine the first green shoots breaking through the red dust, fragile and determined, a testament to the power of hope. You know the challenges are many. The air is thin, the nights are cold, the soil is poor. But you also know that life is resilient, that it has found a way in the most unlikely places. You remember the tiny plants that grow in cracks in the sidewalk, the moss that clings to rocks, the seeds that lie dormant for years, waiting for the right moment to awaken. You take a deep breath, feeling the weight of the journey ahead. You are not alone. Others have walked this path before you, and others will follow. Together, you are writing a new chapter in the story of life, a chapter that begins with a single sunrise on a distant world. As the day unfolds, you find comfort in the rhythm of light and shadow, in the slow, steady passage of time. You know that the work will be hard, that success is not guaranteed. But you also know that every journey begins with a single step, a single seed, a single ray of light. You return to your shelter, carrying a handful of red dust and a heart full of questions. What does it mean for life to seek light in a world so different from home? Can the miracle of photosynthesis take root here, beneath a sky not quite blue? As the sun begins its slow descent, you watch the shadows lengthen, the colors deepen, the world grow quiet once more. You feel the gentle pull of sleep, the promise of rest, the hope of another dawn. And as you close your eyes, you wonder how do plants drink the sun, and what new stories will they write beneath this crimson sky? You sit quietly, holding a single green leaf in your hand. Its surface is soft, almost velvety, and as you turn it in the Martian light, you notice the delicate veins running through it, tiny rivers, branching and weaving, carrying life to every corner. This leaf, so simple and so complex, is a living miracle. It is a bridge between the sun and the soil, between the air and the roots, between hope and survival. On Earth, you have seen leaves flutter in the breeze, their faces turned toward the sun. You have watched them shimmer in the morning light, breathing in the day, exhaling life. Here on Mars, the air is still, the sun is distant, and the leaf in your hand seems to hold its breath, waiting for a song it barely remembers. Photosynthesis. The word itself is gentle, almost musical, a whisper of light, a promise of growth. It is the process by which plants drink the sun, turning its energy into food, weaving together water and air to create the sugars that fuel all living things. It is the quiet engine of every forest, every meadow, every garden you have ever known. But how does this miracle unfold? Imagine the leaf as a tiny kitchen, filled with invisible chefs. Sunlight pours in through the window's tiny openings called stomata, while water rises up from the roots, and carbon dioxide drifts in from the air. Inside, the chefs get to work, mixing and stirring, using the sun's energy to transform these simple ingredients into something new. Glucose, the sweet fuel of life, and oxygen, the breath of the world. On Mars, the recipe is the same, but the kitchen is different. The sunlight is weaker, filtered through a thinner sky. The air is cold and dry, and the carbon dioxide, though plentiful, is not quite the same as the air on Earth. The water is precious, hidden deep beneath the surface, waiting to be coaxed out drop by drop. The leaf in your hand must learn to adapt, to find new rhythms, to dance to a different tune. You imagine the first green shoots pushing up through Martian soil, their leaves trembling in the thin air. They reach for the sun, their cells opening, wide, hungry for light. The photons, tiny packets of sunlight, strike the green pigment called chlorophyll, setting off a cascade of reactions. It is as if the leaf is catching fire, but a gentle, invisible fire that does not burn, only transforms. The chlorophyll absorbs the light, capturing its energy and using it to split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen is combined with carbon dioxide to make glucose, while the oxygen is released as a gentle sigh, a gift to the world. This is the breath of green, the silent exhalation that fills the air with life. On Mars, every step of this dance is more difficult. The sunlight is thin, the water scarce, the cold ever present. The leaf must work harder, must be more efficient, must find ways to survive in a world that does not welcome it. Scientists dream of engineering plants that can thrive here, plants with thicker leaves, deeper roots, more efficient chlorophyll. They imagine greenhouses filled with artificial light, with carefully balanced air, with water recycled and reused until every drop is precious. You close your eyes and picture a Martian greenhouse, warm and bright, filled with the soft hum of growing things. The leaves inside are a deeper green. Their surface is waxy and strong, their veins thick with life. They drink the sun with quiet determination, turning every photon into food, every breath into hope. Not you think of the plants on Earth that have learned to survive in harsh places, cacti in the desert, mosses on the tundra, algae in the coldest seas. Each one has found a way to adapt, to make the most of what little they have. Perhaps you think the plants of Mars will be like these tough, resilient, endlessly inventive. You remember that photosynthesis is not just a process, but a partnership. The plant gives oxygen to the air, and in return, the world gives carbon dioxide. It is a gentle exchange, a balance that sustains all life. On Mars, this balance must be carefully managed, every breath measured, every exchange accounted for. The air inside the greenhouse is precious, a carefully crafted blend of gases, designed to keep both plants and people alive. You walk among the rows of green, your footsteps soft on the Martian floor. You watch as the leaves turn slowly toward the light, their faces open and trusting. You feel the warmth of the lamps above, the gentle mist of water on your skin, the quiet hum of life unfolding. Here, in this small sanctuary, the miracle of photosynthesis continues, fragile but unbroken. You pause beside a young plant, its leaves trembling in the artificial breeze. You reach out and touch it, feeling the pulse of life beneath your fingers. You wonder what it dreams of. This little plant, does it remember the forests of Earth, the wild meadows, the endless blue sky? Or is it content to grow here, in this new world, beneath a sun that is not its own? You think of the future, of the generations to come. Will they walk among Martian gardens, breathing air made by plants, eating food grown in red soil? Will they remember the miracle of photosynthesis, the quiet breath of green that makes all life possible? Or will it become so ordinary, so woven into daily life, that they forget to marvel at it? You know that every leaf is a story, every breath a promise. The plants you tend here are pioneers, explorers in their own right, reaching for the sun in a world that is still learning how to welcome them. Their struggle is your struggle, their hope your hope. Together, you are learning how to drink the sun, how to turn light into life, how to write a new chapter in the story of the universe. As the day fades, you sit quietly among the plants, listening to the soft rustle of leaves, the gentle sigh of air. You feel the rhythm of photosynthesis, the slow, steady pulse of life unfolding. You know that the journey is just beginning, that there are many challenges ahead. But you also know that every breath, every leaf, every ray of light is a step toward a future where green things grow beneath a crimson sky. You close your eyes and let the warmth of the greenhouse wash over you. You breathe in the scent of earth and water, the promise of growth, the hope of tomorrow. And as you drift toward sleep, you wonder, can the red dust of Mars cradle seeds, or must we teach it how to hold life? You kneel on the edge of a new world, your gloved hands sifting through the red dust. The soil of Mars is fine and powdery, slipping through your fingers like ancient secrets. Each grain is a memory of volcanoes and meteorites, of winds that have swept across empty plains for millions of years. This is not the rich, dark earth of home. It is something stranger, older, and full of questions. You look closely at the ground beneath you. The color is striking a deep, rusty red, the mark of iron that has oxidized over eons. This iron gives Mars its name, its hue, and its mystery. But for all its beauty, this soil is not yet a cradle for life. It is dry, almost sterile, and missing the gentle touch of water and the living things that make Earth's soil so fertile. You remember the feeling of Earth's soil cool, damp, alive with the scent of rain and the quiet work of worms and microbes. On Mars, the soil is silent. There are no roots weaving through it, no insects burrowing, no fungi spreading their invisible threads. It is a puzzle, waiting to be solved. Scientists call this Martian soil regolith. It is a word that means blanket of rock, and that is what it is, a thin layer of broken stones and dust covering the planet's surface. The regolith is made of minerals, silicates, iron oxides, perchlorates, and traces of other elements. Some of these are helpful for plants. Others are harsh, even toxic. The soil is missing the organic matter that gives Earth's ground its richness, the decayed leaves, the ancient roots, the endless cycle of life and death. You wonder, can seeds find a home here? Can roots push through this alien dust, searching for water and food? Or must we teach the soil how to hold life, adding what it lacks, coaxing it to become something new? You imagine the first experiments, tiny greenhouses, filled with trays of Martian regolith, each one a test of hope. Scientists add water, nutrients, and sometimes even a handful of Earth's own soil, rich with microbes. They plant seeds and wait, watching for the first signs of green. Sometimes the seeds sprout, their roots reaching down, their leaves unfurling toward the light. Other times, the plants struggle, their growth stunted, their leaves pale and weak. The challenge is not just the lack of nutrients, but the presence of things that can harm. Perchlorates, for example, are salts found in Martian soil. They can be toxic to plants and people. On Earth, these chemicals are rare, but on Mars, they are everywhere, woven into the very fabric of the ground. To grow food here, you must find ways to remove or neutralize these dangers, to make the soil safe for life. You think of the ways Earth's soil is made, how rocks are broken down by wind and water, how plants and animals add their bodies to the mix, how time and patience turn dust into a living thing. On Mars, this process has barely begun. The soil is young, in a way, untouched by the long dance of life and death that has shaped Earth's ground for billions of years. Yet, there is promise here. The minerals in Martian soil can be food for plants, if only they can be unlocked. With the right mix of water, nutrients, and perhaps a little help from Earth's microbes, the red dust can begin to change. It can become a place where roots take hold, where seeds awaken, where life begins again. You picture a future where Martian soil is alive, where greenhouses are filled with beds of rich, dark earth, where worms and bacteria work quietly beneath the surface, breaking down waste, feeding the roots, creating a new cycle of life. You imagine the first harvest, the taste of food grown in Martian ground, the sense of wonder and pride that comes with it. But for now, the work is slow and careful. Each experiment is a lesson, each failure a step closer to success. You learn to mix the regolith with compost, to add water drop by precious drop, to monitor the chemistry of the soil with gentle precision. You watch as the first roots push down, tentative and brave, searching for a place to belong. You remember that soil is more than just dirt. It is a living system, a community of countless tiny beings, each one playing a part in the dance of life. On Mars, you must build this community from scratch, introducing microbes, adding organic matter, creating the conditions for life to flourish. It is a slow process, but a hopeful one. You think of the seeds you carry, each one a promise, a possibility. You plant them with care, covering them with a thin layer of red dust, watering them gently, whispering encouragement. You watch and wait, your heart beating in time with the slow unfolding of life. The Martian soil is a challenge, but it is also an invitation. It asks you to be patient, to be creative, to believe in the power of small beginnings. It reminds you that life is resilient, that it can find a way even in the harshest places. It teaches you to look for hope in every grain, to see the hidden promise in the red dust dot as the day ends. You stand and brush the soil from your hands. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the land, turning the dust to gold. You feel a quiet sense of accomplishment, a gentle pride in the work you have begun. The soil is not yet ready, but it is changing slowly with every seed you plant, every drop of water you add, every dream you dare to dream. You walk back to your shelter, your footsteps soft on the Martian ground. You carry with you a handful of red dust, a pocketful of hope, and the knowledge that even the most barren soil can become a garden. If you are patient, if you believe, if you are willing to try dot as you close your eyes, you wonder, where will the water come from, and how will you coax it from stone to feed your growing garden? You wake to the soft hush of the Martian morning, the world outside your window, painted in pale gold and deep red. The air is dry, almost brittle, and you feel the thirst of this place in your skin, your breath, your bones. On Earth, water is everywhere, falling from the sky, running in rivers, hidden in the soil. Here, it is a secret, a treasure, a hope that shimmers just out of reach. You remember the first time you saw water on Mars, not as a flowing stream or a glistening lake, but as a thin layer of frost, sparkling in the early light. It clung to the shadowed side of a rock, delicate and fleeting, gone with the first touch of the sun. You knelt beside it, marveling at its beauty, its fragility, its promise. In that moment, you understood. Every drop of water here is precious. Every trace of miracle dot water is the gentle thread that weaves all life together. It is the river that runs through every cell, the breath that cools every leaf, the silent partner in the dance of photosynthesis. Without water, seeds cannot sprout, roots cannot grow, leaves cannot drink the sun. On Mars, the search for water is the search for life itself. You walk across the red plain, your boots stirring up dust, your eyes scanning the horizon for signs of moisture. The landscape is dry, ancient, shaped by winds and time. Yet beneath the surface, water hides locked in ice, trapped in minerals, waiting to be found. Scientists have mapped the planet, searching for clues, the patterns of ancient riverbeds, the glimmer of frost at dawn, the subtle signals of hydrogen in the soil. That you think of the explorers who came before you, their rovers crawling across the surface, their instruments sniffing the air, their cameras capturing the faintest hints of water. They found ice at the poles, frozen solid in the endless cold. They found signs of ancient floods, channels carved by water long gone. They found perchlorate salts that can hold water, but also make it hard to use. Each discovery was a step closer to the dream of growing life on Mars. You kneel beside a patch of ground, your tools ready. You dig carefully, layer by layer, searching for the telltale signs of ice. The soil grows colder, harder, until your spade strikes something solid. You brush away the dust, revealing a patch of white ice, pure and silent, hidden for ages beneath the red. You smile, feeling the thrill of discovery, the quiet joy of hope. But finding water is only the beginning. You must learn how to free it, how to gather it, how to use it without wasting a single drop. You set up your equipment, a small heater, a collection tray, a system of pipes and filters. You watch as the ice melts, turning to liquid, then to vapor, then back to liquid again. Each stage is a lesson, a reminder of how delicate this process is, how easily water can slip away. You think of the ways water moves on Earth, rising as mist, falling as rain, flowing in rivers, seeping into the ground. On Mars, the cycle is slower, more cautious, more precious. Every drop must be captured, every loss prevented. You design systems to recycle water, to purify it, to use it again and again. You learn to measure every ounce, to track every use, to treat water as the treasure it is. You remember that water is not just for drinking. It is the lifeblood of your garden, the gentle rain that awakens seeds, the cool mist that soothes leaves, the silent river that feeds roots. You set up irrigation systems, tiny tubes that deliver water drop by drop, sensors that measure moisture, timers that mimic the rhythm of rain. You watch as the soil darkens, as the seeds swell, as the first green shoots push through the dust. Marvel at the resilience of life. Even here, in this dry and distant world, plants respond to water with gratitude, with joy, with growth. Their roots reach down, searching for moisture, their leaves open wide, drinking in the coolness. You see how a single drop can change everything, how it can turn dust to soil, hope to reality, dreams to life. You think of the challenges that remain. The water you find is often mixed with salts and chemicals that can harm plants. You must filter it, purify it, sometimes even distill it drop by drop. You experiment with different methods, reverse osmosis, distillation, chemical treatments, each one a step closer to the clear, clean water your garden needs. You remember that water is not just a resource, but a story. It is the memory of ancient oceans, the echo of lost rivers, the promise of rain that may one day fall again. On Mars, every drop is a link to the past, a hope for the future, a gift to be cherished. You walk through your greenhouse, listening to the gentle drip of water, the soft rustle of leaves, the quiet hum of life. You see how the plants respond, how they grow stronger, greener, more alive with every drop. You feel the connection between water and life, the way each supports the other, the way both are needed for the miracle of photosynthesis to unfold. You think of the future, of the ways water might be found and used on Mars. Perhaps one day, great reservoirs will be built, filled with melted ice from the poles. Perhaps new technologies will draw water from the air, from the soil, from the very rocks themselves. Perhaps, in time, rain will fall on Mars again, and rivers will flow, and lakes will shimmer beneath the sun. But for now, you work with what you have, each drop a victory, each trickle a triumph. You learn to be patient, to be careful, to be grateful for every bit of water you find. You teach your plants to do the same, to grow slowly, to use water wisely, to thrive in a world where nothing is wasted. You remember that water is the gentle thread that weaves all life together. It is the promise that binds you to this place, the hope that keeps you going, the gift that makes everything possible. You hold a cup of water in your hands, watching the light dance on its surface, feeling the weight of its promise. As the day ends, you sit quietly, listening to the soft sounds of your garden, the gentle drip of water, the slow unfolding of life. You know that the journey is far from over, that there are many challenges ahead. But you also know that with water, anything is possible, that every drop is a beginning, a hope, a dream waiting to come true. You close your eyes, feeling the coolness of water on your skin, the warmth of hope in your heart. And as you drift towards sleep, you wonder, how will you build an atmosphere for growth, a breath of air that will let your garden truly thrive? You stand at the threshold of your greenhouse, feeling the gentle press of the Martian air against your suit. It is a strange sensation, so light, so thin, almost as if the world itself is holding its breath. The sky above is a pale, dusty pink, and the wind carries only the faintest whisper of movement. Here, the air is not your friend. It is a challenge, a puzzle, a reminder of how far you are from home. On Earth, you rarely think about the air. It is simply there, filling your lungs, feeding your cells, carrying the scent of rain and the song of birds. It is thick with oxygen and nitrogen, a perfect blend for life. But on Mars, the air is a ghost, mostly carbon dioxide, with only a trace of oxygen, and so thin that your breath feels empty, your voice muffled, your movements slow. You know that for plants, air is more than just something to breathe. It is a partner in the dance of photosynthesis, a source of carbon for building leaves and stems and roots. On Earth, plants take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen, creating a gentle balance that sustains all life. But here, the balance is different. The air outside is too thin, too cold, too harsh for anything green to survive. You step inside the greenhouse, closing the door behind you. Instantly, the world changes. The air is warmer, thicker, filled with the scent of soil and growing things. You remove your helmet and take a deep breath, feeling the life in the air, the promise of growth. This is a bubble of earth, a tiny oasis carved out of the Martian desert. Creating this atmosphere is an art, a science, a daily act of care. You monitor the levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide, adjusting the balance with every breath, every leaf, every drop of water. You know that too much carbon dioxide can harm the plants, while too little will slow their growth. Too much oxygen can be dangerous, while too little will leave you gasping. It is a delicate dance, a constant adjustment, a reminder of how fragile life can be. You think of the systems that keep this bubble alive: fans that circulate the air, filters that remove impurities, sensors that track every change. You watch as the plants breathe in carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen, their leaves shimmering in the light. You see how your own breath becomes part of the cycle, how every exhalation feeds the garden, how every inhalation is a gift from the green world you are building. You remember that on Earth, the atmosphere is shaped by billions of years of life, by forests and oceans, by tiny microbes and towering trees. Here, you must build that balance from scratch, creating a miniature world where every molecule matters. You add carbon dioxide when the plants need it, release oxygen when the levels drop, and always watch for signs of imbalance. You marvel at the resilience of your plants. They adapt to the new rhythms, the unfamiliar air, the gentle hum of machines. Some grow quickly, their leaves wide and glossy, their stems strong. Others struggle, their growth slow, their colors pale. You learn to listen to their needs, to adjust the air, the light, the water, until the balance is just right. You think of the future, of the day when entire domes will be filled with green, when people will walk among the plants without suits, breathing air made by leaves, living in harmony with the world they have created. You imagine children running through fields of wheat, their laughter echoing beneath the glass, their lungs filled with the breath of life. But for now, your greenhouse is small, your bubble fragile. You check the seals, the filters, the fans, making sure that nothing is lost, that every breath is counted, that every molecule is cherished. You know that a single leak could mean disaster, that the thin Martian air outside is always waiting, always pressing in, always reminding you of the work that must be done. You remember that air is not just for breathing. It carries warmth, moisture, the scent of flowers, and the promise of rain. It is the medium in which life unfolds, the invisible ocean in which you and your plants swim. You watch as the humidity rises, as the temperature climbs, as the greenhouse becomes a world unto itself. You think of the ways you can improve, the technologies you can use: artificial photosynthesis, advanced filtration, new materials for domes and walls. You dream of greenhouses that stretch for miles, of cities filled with gardens, of a Mars that is slowly, patiently, becoming more like home. You know that this work is slow, that every advance is hard-won, that every mistake is a lesson. You learn to be patient, to celebrate small victories, to find joy in the simple act of breathing. You watch as your plants grow stronger, as the air becomes richer, as the balance shifts ever closer to perfection. You sit among your plants, feeling the warmth of the sun through the glass, the gentle caress of the air on your skin. You close your eyes and listen to the quiet symphony of life, the rustle of leaves, the hum of fans, the soft rhythm of your own breath. You feel the connection between yourself and your garden, the way you depend on each other, the way you are both learning to thrive in this new world. You remember that building an atmosphere is more than just a technical challenge. It is an act of hope, a declaration that life can flourish even in the most unlikely places. It is a promise to the future, a gift to those who will come after you, a testament to the power of patience and care. As the day ends, you check the monitors one last time, making sure that everything is in balance, that the air is safe, that your plants are thriving. You step outside, feeling the thin Martian wind on your face, the vastness of the world around you. You look up at the sky, at the pale sun, at the endless possibilities that lie ahead. You close your eyes, breathing deeply, feeling the promise of growth in every breath. And as you drift towards sleep, you wonder which seeds will you choose to plant, and what stories will they tell in this new world. You sit at a small table, a handful of seeds scattered before you like tiny jewels. Each one is a world of possibility, a silent promise wrapped in a shell. You turn them over in your palm, feeling their weight, their smoothness, their quiet potential. On Earth, seeds are everywhere, tucked into the soil, carried by the wind, hidden in the bellies of fruit. Here on Mars, each seed is precious, chosen with care, a hope for the future. Not every seed is ready for the journey. The voyage from Earth to Mars is long and hard, and the world that waits is harsh and strange. The seeds you bring must be strong, resilient, able to survive the cold, the dryness, the thin air. Scientists on Earth have spent years testing, searching for the right plants, those that grow quickly, that need little water, that can thrive in the gentle light of a Martian sun. You think of the first seeds ever sent to space, tiny mustard plants, wheat, potatoes, and beans. Some grew well, their roots curling through the soil, their leaves reaching for the light. Others struggled, their growth stunted, their colors pale. Each experiment was a lesson, a step closer to understanding what life needs to flourish beyond Earth. You remember the stories of seeds that have traveled farther than any human carried on spacecraft, tucked into the pockets of astronauts, planted in the soil of the International Space Station. Some have even sprouted on the moon. There, green shoots, a testament to the resilience of life. Now it is Mars's turn to test the courage of seeds. You look at your collection: wheat, barley, potatoes, lettuce, radishes, peas. Each has been chosen for a reason. Wheat and barley are ancient crops, their grains a source of food and comfort. Potatoes are hardy, able to grow in poor soil, their tubers rich in energy. Lettuce and radishes grow quickly, their leaves tender and green, a taste of freshness in a world of dust. Peas fix nitrogen in the soil, helping other plants to grow. You think of the work that goes into preparing these seeds. Some are coated with nutrients, a tiny meal to help them start. Others are treated to resist disease, to survive the cold, to sprout even in the thin Martian air. Scientists have even begun to edit the genes of some plants, making them more efficient, more resilient, more able to thrive in this new world. You plant the first seed with care, pressing it gently into the soil, covering it with a thin layer of dust. You water it just a drop and whisper a wish. You know that not every seed will sprout, that some will sleep on, waiting for a better time. But you also know that every seed is a story, a hope, a promise waiting to unfold. You watch as the days pass, as the first green shoots appear, fragile and bright. You marvel at their courage, their determination, their quiet strength. You see how some grow quickly, their leaves unfurling, their roots digging deep. Others struggle, their growth slow, their colors pale. You learn to adjust the light, the water, the air, to give each seed the best chance to thrive. You think of the seeds you have left behind on earth fields of wheat, waving in the wind, gardens bursting with color, forests thick with life. You remember the scent of fresh-cut grass, the taste of ripe fruit, the sound of leaves rustling in the breeze. Here on Mars, these memories are both comfort and challenge, a reminder of what you are working toward. You know that every seed is a link to the past, a bridge to the future. The plants you grow here will feed not just your body, but your spirit. They will remind you of home, of the green world you left behind, of the endless cycle of life and growth. They will teach you patience, resilience, hope. You imagine a future where Martian greenhouses are filled with a riot of color-red tomatoes, golden wheat, purple beans, green lettuce. You see children planting seeds, watching them grow, learning the stories of each plant. You dream of a day when the air is thick with the scent of flowers, when the soil is rich and dark, when every meal is a celebration of life's persistence. For now, you work with what you have, each seed a treasure, each sprout a victory. You keep careful records, noting which plants grow best, which need more care, which struggle, and which thrive. You share your findings with others, building a library of knowledge, a map for those who will come after you. You remember that seeds are more than just food. They are medicine, shelter, beauty, and hope. They are the beginning of forests, the promise of gardens, the foundation of every civilization. On Mars, they are the first step toward making this world a home dot as the day ends. You sit quietly among your seedlings, watching the last light fade from the sky. You feel a sense of peace, a gentle pride in the work you have begun. You know that the journey is long, that there will be setbacks and failures. But you also know that every seed is a promise that life can begin again, even in the most unlikely places. You close your eyes, listening to the soft rustle of leaves, the quiet hum of growth. And as you drift toward sleep, you wonder, when sunlight is scarce, how can you become the sun for your growing garden? You wake before dawn, the Martian night still wrapped around your shelter like a soft, silent blanket. Outside, the world is dim and cold, the sun a distant promise on the horizon. You move quietly through the greenhouse, your footsteps muffled by the soft earth, your breath clouding in the cool air. The plants are sleeping, their leaves folded, their stems bowed, waiting for the light to return that. But here, on Mars, sunlight is a rare and precious thing. The sun rises slowly, its rays filtered through a thin, dusty sky, its warmth faint and fleeting. The days are short, the nights long, and the light that reaches your garden is never quite enough. You know that for your plants to thrive, you must become the sun, offering them the energy they need. Even when the world outside is dark dot, you turn on the growing lamps, and the greenhouse comes alive with gentle color. Rows of LEDs glow softly red, blue, and white, casting a warm, inviting light over the leaves. The plants respond almost immediately, their stems straightening, their leaves unfurling, their colors deepening in the artificial dawn. You watch as the first hints of green appear, as the garden awakens, as life stirs in the darkness. You marvel at the technology that makes this possible. Each lamp is carefully designed, its spectrum tuned to match the needs of your plants. Red light encourages growth, blue light strengthens stems and leaves, and a touch of white brings balance, mimicking the full spectrum of sunlight. The lamps are efficient, using little energy, yet providing just the right amount of warmth and brightness. You remember the first experiments with artificial, light tiny seedlings growing under fluorescent bulbs, their leaves pale and thin, their growth slow and uncertain. Over time, scientists learned to fine-tune the light, to give plants exactly what they needed, to coax them into thriving even in the absence of the sun. Now on Mars, this knowledge is your lifeline, your hope, your promise to the seeds you have planted. You walk among the rows, adjusting the height of the lamps, checking the timers, making sure that every plant receives its share of light. You notice how some plants lean toward the lamps, their leaves reaching out, their stems bending in a silent dance. Others seem content to bask in the gentle glow, their colors rich and vibrant, their growth steady and strong. You think of the energy that powers your artificial sun's solar panels on the roof, batteries storing the day's light, careful systems that balance every watt. You learn to be efficient, to use only what you need, to give your plants just enough light to grow without wasting precious resources. You experiment with different schedules, different intensities, different colors, always searching for the perfect balance. You remember that light is more than just energy. It is a signal, a guide, a rhythm that shapes the lives of your plants. On Earth, the rising and setting of the sun tells plants when to grow, when to flower, when to rest. Here, you must create that rhythm yourself, setting the timers, adjusting the cycles, teaching your garden to follow a new pattern. You notice how the plants respond to your care. Some flower earlier, their blooms bright and bold in the artificial dawn. Others grow taller, their stems strong and straight, their leaves thick and glossy. You see how the right light can make all the difference, turning fragile seedlings into sturdy, thriving plants. You think of the future, of the ways technology can help life flourish on Mars. Perhaps one day, entire cities will be lit by artificial suns, their streets lined with gardens, their air filled with the scent of flowers. Perhaps new kinds of lamps will be invented, even more efficient, even more attuned to the needs of living things. Perhaps in time, the line between nature and technology will blur, and every home will have its own little sun. But for now, your greenhouse is a sanctuary, a place where light and life come together in quiet harmony. You sit among your plants, feeling the warmth of the lamps on your skin, listening to the gentle hum of electricity, watching as the garden grows in the darkness. You know that every leaf, every stem, every flower is a testament to the power of hope, the promise of technology, the resilience of life. You remember that being the sun is a responsibility, a gift, a challenge. You must be patient, attentive, willing to learn from your mistakes. You must listen to your plants, watch for signs of stress or hunger, adjust the light as needed. You must trust in the process, in the slow, steady unfolding of growth. You think of the stories you will tell of gardens that bloom in the darkness, of seeds that awaken beneath artificial suns, of life that finds a way even in the most unlikely places. You imagine sharing these stories with others, inspiring new generations of gardeners, scientists, and dreamers. As the day ends, you turn off the lamps, letting the greenhouse slip back into darkness. The plants fold their leaves, bow their stems, settle in for the long Martian night. You feel a sense of peace, a quiet pride in the work you have done, the light you have given, the life you have nurtured. You step outside, looking up at the stars, the endless blackness of space, the distant glimmer of Earth. You know that the journey is far from over, that there are many challenges ahead. But you also know that with light, with care, with hope, anything is possible. You close your eyes, feeling the warmth of the lamps lingering on your skin, the promise of growth in your heart. And as you drift toward sleep, you wonder what kind of sanctuary can you build, where plants and people might grow together, sheltered from the red world outside? You step through the airlock and into a world transformed. The Martian wind, sharp and thin, is left behind. Here, inside the greenhouse, the air is warm and gentle, carrying the scent of soil and the soft, living breath of leaves. The walls curve above you, clear panels of glass and plastic, strong enough to hold back the cold, yet delicate enough to let in the light. This is your sanctuary, your shelter, your hope made real. You walk slowly down the central path, your footsteps muffled by the soft earth. All around you, green life flourishes, rows of lettuce, their leaves crisp and bright. Tall stalks of wheat, golden in the artificial sun. Clusters of tomatoes, red and round, hanging like jewels from their vines. The air is thick with humidity, a gentle mist rising from the soil, wrapping you in a cocoon of warmth and promise. You pause to touch a leaf, feeling its coolness, its strength, its quiet determination. Each plant is a survivor, a pioneer, a testament to the power of care and patience. You remember the long journey that brought you here, the careful planning, the endless experiments, the hope that carried you across the void. Now in this greenhouse, that hope has taken root. The design of your sanctuary is both simple and ingenious. The walls are made of layered materials, glass for clarity, plastic for strength, insulation for warmth. The roof curves to catch the weak Martian sunlight, focusing it onto the beds below. At night, the lamps glow softly, their light tuned to the needs of each plant. The floor is lined with pipes, carrying warm water to keep the roots from freezing. Recycling every drop, every breath, every bit of waste, you think of the many shapes a Martian greenhouse might take. Some are domes, rising like bubbles from the red dust, their curves strong against the wind. Others are long tunnels, half buried in the ground, their roofs peeking out like the backs of sleeping animals. Some are built into the sides of cliffs, sheltered from storms, their windows looking out over endless plains. Each design is a response to the challenges of this world, a way to hold on to life, to nurture it, to let it grow. You remember the first greenhouses on Earth, simple glass, boxes, warmed by the sun, filled with the scent of herbs and flowers. Here, the technology is more advanced, but the purpose is the same, to create a space where life can flourish no matter the world outside. You marvel at the systems that keep your sanctuary alive, fans that move the air, filters that clean. It's sensors that track every change in temperature, humidity, and light. You walk among the plants, checking their leaves, their stems, their roots. You listen to the quiet hum of machines, the gentle drip of water, the soft rustle of growth. You see how the plants respond to your care, how they turn their leaves toward the light, how their roots dig deep, how their colors deepen with every passing day. You feel a sense of partnership, of shared purpose, of belonging. You think of the people who will one day live here with you, scientists, engineers, children, dreamers. You imagine them tending the garden, harvesting food, sharing meals, telling stories beneath the glow of the lamps. You see laughter, learning, and the slow, steady building of a new home. The greenhouse is more than just a place to grow food. It is a place to grow community, to nurture hope, to remember what it means to be alive. You remember that on Mars, nothing can be wasted. Every drop of water, every breath of air, every scrap of organic matter must be used and reused, cycled through the system again and again. The greenhouse is a closed loop, a miniature world where waste becomes nourishment, where every part supports the whole. You watch as compost is turned into rich soil, as water is captured from the air, as carbon dioxide from your breath feeds the plants that feed you in return. You marvel at the beauty of this cycle, at the way life supports life, at the quiet elegance of balance. You see how the greenhouse is both a refuge and a teacher, showing you how to live gently, how to care for the world, how to find abundance in simplicity. You learn to listen to the needs of your plants, to adjust the systems, to trust in the slow unfolding of growth. That you think of the future, of the greenhouses that will one day dot the Martian landscape. Some will be small, tucked into the corners of habitats, their windows fogged with humidity, their shelves lined with herbs and flowers. Others will be vast, stretching for acres, their roofs arching high above fields of grain and fruit. You imagine forests growing beneath glass, their branches reaching for the sky, their roots weaving through the soil, their leaves whispering in the artificial breeze. You dream of a day when the line between inside and outside begins to blur, when the air outside is thick enough to breathe, when the soil is rich enough to grow, when the world itself becomes a garden. You see children running through fields of wildflowers, their laughter echoing beneath the dome, their hands stained with the green of life. You imagine a Mars transformed, not by machines alone, but by the patient, persistent work of growing things. But for now, your sanctuary is small, your garden young. You tend it with care, learning from each success, each failure, each new leaf. You share your knowledge with others, building a community of gardeners, scientists, and dreamers. You celebrate each harvest, each meal, each moment of beauty and wonder. You sit at the edge of your garden, watching the light fade from the sky, the lamps glowing softly in the dusk. You feel a sense of peace, a quiet pride in the work you have done, the life you have nurtured, the hope you have planted. You know that the journey is far from over, that there are many challenges ahead. But you also know that with patience, with care, with love, anything is possible. You close your eyes, listening to the gentle sounds of your sanctuary, the hum of machines, the rustle of leaves, the quiet breath of life. And as you drift toward sleep, you wonder, how can you make this cycle complete, turning every bit of waste into nourishment, every breath into renewal, every moment into a step toward a self-sustaining world? You begin your morning in the greenhouse, watching the light filter through the curved walls, illuminating the quiet work of life. Here, every action is part of a cycle, every breath and drop and leaf woven into a living circle. On Mars, nothing can be wasted. The world outside is too harsh, too empty, too unforgiving. Inside, you must learn to make a little world that feeds itself, where every ending is a new beginning. You walk among the rows of plants, noticing the fallen leaves, the wilted stems, the bits of soil clinging to your boots. On Earth, these might be swept away, forgotten, left to decay in the open air. Here, they are precious. You gather them gently, adding them to the compost in a small warm chamber where microbes work in the dark, breaking down what is no longer needed, turning it into something new. You marvel at the quiet magic of decomposition. The process is slow, patient, invisible to the eye. Bacteria and fungi, tiny and tireless, transform waste into nourishment, releasing heat, moisture, and nutrients back into the soil. You check the temperature, the moisture, the balance of green and brown. You learn to trust the process, to wait for the rich, dark compost that will feed your next crop. You remember that every part of your greenhouse is connected. The water you use to irrigate the plants is collected from the air, recycled from your breath, purified and reused again and again. The carbon dioxide you exhale is drawn in by the leaves, turned into oxygen, returned to you with every breath. The food you eat becomes energy. The waste you produce becomes compost. The cycle continues unbroken. You think of the systems that make this possible: filters and pumps, sensors and timers, all working together to keep the loop closed. You marvel at the elegance of it, the way technology and biology blend, the way every part supports the whole. You see how the greenhouse is not just a place to grow food, but a model for a new way of living, a way that honors the cycles of life, that wastes nothing, that finds value in every scrap. You remember the lessons of Earth, how forests and oceans and prairies are built on cycles, how every living thing is part of a web, how nothing is ever truly lost. On Mars, you must recreate these cycles, building them piece by piece, learning from each mistake, celebrating each success. You see how the smallest changes can have the biggest impact, how a bit more compost can make the soil richer, how a tweak in the water system can save precious drops, how a new plant can change the balance of gases in the air. Don't you think of the future, of the ways these cycles might grow? Perhaps one day, entire habitats will be built on closed loops, with waste from one system feeding another, with every resource used and reused until nothing is left unused. Perhaps in time, the cycles will expand beyond the greenhouse, shaping the way people live, the way they build, the way they dream. You imagine a world where every home has its own garden, its own compost bin, its own water recycler. Children learning to care for the cycles, to understand the connections, to respect the balance. You dream of a Mars where nothing is wasted, where every breath, every drop, every leaf is part of a living circle. But for now, your world is small, your cycles fragile. You tend them with care, watching for signs of imbalance, adjusting as needed, learning from the quiet wisdom of nature. You celebrate each harvest, each handful of compost, each glass of clear water. You share your knowledge with others, building a community of caretakers, each one adding to the strength of the whole. You sit quietly at the end of the day, watching the sun set through the greenhouse walls, the light turning the leaves to gold. You feel a sense of peace, a gentle pride in the work you have done, the cycles you have tended, the world you are helping to build. You know that the journey is far from over, that there are many challenges ahead. But you also know that with patience, with care, with respect for the cycles of life, anything is possible. You close your eyes, listening to the soft hum of machines, the gentle rustle of leaves, the quiet breath of renewal. And as you drift toward sleep, you wonder, what will it feel like to taste the first harvest, to eat food grown in this little world you have made? The day arrives quietly, as so many days do on Mars. The sun rises, pale and distant, casting a gentle gold across the greenhouse. You move through the rows of green, your hands steady, your heart full of anticipation. Today is the day of the L. First harvest, a moment you have dreamed of since you first pressed a seed into Martian soil. You pause, letting the moment settle around you. The air is thick with the scent of leaves and earth, a living perfume that feels both familiar and new. The plants stand tall and strong, their colors deep and vibrant, their leaves trembling in the soft light. You kneel beside a row of lettuce, your fingers brushing the cool, crisp leaves. You remember the journey, each challenge, each small victory, each quiet hope that brought you to this day. With gentle hands, you begin to harvest. You cut the first head of lettuce, its leaves curling in your palm, its weight a quiet miracle. You move on to the radishes, pulling them from the soil, their red skins bright against the dark earth. You gather tomatoes, their skins warm and smooth, their scent sweet and sharp. Each plant offers its gift, each harvest a celebration of patience, care, and the resilience of life. You carry your basket to the table, arranging the harvest with reverence. The colors are a feast for the eyes, greens and reds and golds, each one a promise fulfilled. You wash the vegetables in clear, recycled water, watching the droplets bead and roll, catching the light like tiny jewels. You slice the lettuce, the radishes, the tomatoes, arranging them on a plate, your hands moving slowly, savoring each step, You sit down to eat, the first meal grown on another world. You take a bite, the flavors bright and fresh, the taste both familiar and extraordinary. You chew slowly, letting the moment fill you, letting the reality sink in. This is food grown in Martian soil, watered with Martian ice, nurtured by artificial suns and careful hands. This is hope made tangible, a dream you can taste. You think of the journey that brought you here, the search for water, the struggle to balance the air, the careful tending of seeds and soil. You remember the failures, the setbacks, the moments of doubt. You remember the first green shoot, the first flower, the first fruit. Each step was a lesson, each challenge a chance to learn, to adapt, to grow. You think of the people who will come after you, the scientists, the explorers, the children who will one day walk these rows, who will plant their own seeds, who will taste their own harvests. You imagine the meals they will share, the stories they will tell, the communities they will build. You see a future where greenhouses dot the Martian landscape, where gardens bloom beneath domes and tunnels, where life flourishes in the most unlikely places. You remember that food is more than just sustenance. It is comfort, connection, celebration. It is the taste of home, the memory of earth, the promise of a future. Each bite is a link to the past, a bridge to the future, a reminder that life can begin again, even on a world of dust and stone. You share your meal with others, passing plates, exchanging smiles, savoring the flavors. You talk about the journey, the challenges, the dreams that brought you here. You laugh, you remember, you hope. The meal becomes a celebration, a ritual, a moment of gratitude for all that has been achieved and all that is still to come. You look around the table, at the faces of your companions, at the light streaming through the greenhouse walls, at the plants growing quietly in the background. You feel a sense of belonging, of purpose, of connection to something larger than yourself. You know that this is just the beginning, that there are many more harvests to come, many more challenges to face, many more dreams to pursue. You think of the seeds you will plant next, the new varieties, the experiments, the hopes for even greater abundance. You imagine fruit trees growing in the corners, vines climbing the walls, flowers blooming in every shade. You dream of a day when the greenhouse is filled with the laughter of children, the songs of birds, the hum of bees. You see a future where Mars is not just a place to survive, but a place to thrive, to create, to celebrate life in all its forms. You remember that if you can grow food here, you can grow hope. You can grow community, resilience, joy. You can grow a future that is green and bright, even beneath a crimson sky. You can take the lessons learned in this small sanctuary and carry them to new worlds. New challenges, new dreams dot as the meal ends. You sit quietly, letting the moment linger. You watch the light fade from the sky, the shadows lengthen across the rows of green. You feel a sense of peace, a gentle pride in the work you have done, the life you have nurtured, the hope you have harvested dot. You close your eyes, listening to the soft sounds of the greenhouse, the rustle of leaves, the hum of machines, the quiet breath of life. And as you drift toward sleep, you wonder if you can grow food here. What else might you grow among the stars? Night falls gently on your Martian sanctuary. The greenhouse glows softly in the darkness, a lantern of life on a world of stone and silence. You sit quietly, listening to the hush that settles over the garden, the slow, steady breath of leaves, the faint hum of distant machines. The day's work is done, the first harvest tasted, the promise of tomorrow quietly unfolding in the soil. You look up through the curved glass, past the misted air and the green canopy, to the sky beyond. The stars are sharp and cold, scattered. Across the blackness, each one a distant sun, each one a world of possibility. You feel the weight of distance, the vastness of space, and yet Here in this small bubble of warmth and light, you are not alone. Life has found a foothold. Hope has taken root. You remember the journey, how it began with a question, a dream, a single seed pressed into red dust. You recall the challenges, the search for water, the struggle to balance air, the patient tending of fragile shoots. You remember the first green leaf, the first flower, the first taste of food grown in alien soil. Each step was a lesson, each setback a teacher, each small victory a reason to continue. You think of the cycles you have built: water rising and falling, air moving and changing, waste becoming nourishment, life feeding life. You see how every breath, every drop, every leaf is part of a circle, a quiet promise that nothing is ever truly lost. You marvel at the resilience of living things, at the way they adapt, endure, and thrive. Even in the most unlikely places, you imagine the future, the worlds yet to be touched by green. Perhaps one day, gardens will bloom beneath the domes of distant moons. Forests will rise on the slopes of icy planets. Fields of wheat will wave in the winds of new worlds. Perhaps in time, the lessons learned here will guide others explorers, dreamers, caretakers on their own journeys among the stars. You know that the work is never truly finished. There will always be new seeds to plant, new challenges to face, new hopes to nurture. But you also know that every beginning matters, that every act of care is a step toward something greater. You have learned to trust in small things: a drop of water, a handful of soil, a single seed, and to believe in the quiet power of patience and persistence. You close your eyes, feeling the gentle warmth of the greenhouse, the steady pulse of life all around you. You breathe in the scent of earth and leaves, the memory of rain, the promise of growth. You let your thoughts drift, carried on the wind of possibility, out into the darkness, out among the stars, and as you drift toward sleep, you hold one last question in your heart, a question as old as life itself, as new as the dawn. If we can grow food here, if we can nurture hope in the dust of another world, what else might we grow together among the stars?